Hello and welcome to Differential Discussions. I'm Melissa,
And I'm Dave.
and we're back with another of our plural fluids, our Serous fluids, and this one's another plural. And so we're just gonna start on 10.
Yeah. So the main point here, like beating the dead horse. Low power, we just get a good idea of what we can expect on the slide. And you will see that low power will be especially important on this particular slide. So in this field, I can see some really dark, deep blue, larger kind of cells. So we'll kind of keep scanning around. And of course, being a pleural fluid in a serous cavity, there can be mesothelial cells which line the pleural space. Oof, yeah. So I'm looking at big clumps, and like this one over here is problematic. And then specifically, this dark cluster here has my attention. So typically when we see mesothelial cells, they can be singular and they can be in sheets. So these are tissue cells, so they should be continuously within the body, right? Normal physiology. They should be continuously layered with all the sister cells around them. When you start to see a three-dimensionality to it, there becomes a greater probability that it may be an abnormal malignant growth, right? So if you get more of like a blobby kind of a characteristic, that could be evidence of a tumor of some kind. So I'm certainly going to be vigilant. We are going to be vigilant when we start looking on higher mag. Yeah, so a lot of large mononuclear cells around here. Oh, I saw one too just before you changed fields. Um, so I saw a nucleus of one of these large mononuclear cells. I'm doing air quotes. That to me is 100% going to turn out to be a malignancy. Um, so I saw a ringed nucleus essentially. So you'll see things like ring nuclei. If you crack open your textbook and look at dyspoetic morphologies, um, that's one of the dyspoetic kind of features. So not that one-to-one hematopoietic cells will have the exact same features as like a tissue malignancy, but certainly there are a lot of carryover. Um, yeah, yeah. Like I'm look at these guys up here. Not good.
There was a guy too. I'm debating if where is it? I'm trying to see where it is spatially from the scope onto here.
That's challenging. Yeah. So Melissa has always has the hard job. She's got eyes and scope, and on the video camera, going back and forth is difficult.
I think it might be just out of field. Let me pull it up. It looks like there's some. Yes, I think it's in the. There might be some leukophagocytosis.
Okay. So leukophagocytosis is something that we typically note, and it's normal physiology for monocyte macrophages to ingest white cells, um, just as a means of the cleanup crew.
Yeah, but with so many big dark malignant cells, it could also
Mhm.
be that abnormal process too.
Sure.
All right, so let's go back towards the other side where we first started. And it was this area that you said you
Ooh,
saw.
ooh. So it's a little out of focus, but what's
Yeah.
going on with that cell?
Oh, I see. Okay.
What?
I will drop there.
Cool. Yeah.
Want me to drop
Yeah,
again?
it's up to you. Yeah, whenever if you want to get comfortable on oil, and then we can just kind of go on oil. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Because 40 looks decent too, but this way we're not switching back and forth.
I think the other thing about it too is just consider how big these cells are.
Very large. Yep. Which, mesos tend to be large, but I also see that some of them are large, right? And so a little bit of variation size, somewhat normal. The other thing that's troubling too, the cell right next to it, is the way that this nucleus is staining
Yes.
is bad. So I see over and over again in the laboratory techs remaking a slide, remaking a slide, remaking a slide. This slide passes QC check. If you're looking around at normal hematopoietic cells, I see red cells in the field here. So the pieces of the stain are functioning like they should. This is a single cell down here, and there is no reason physiologically why that nucleus should stain like that, but for the fact that there's something going on, that there could be a malignancy. So take the variation in staining. So sometimes it's so bad you can't even tell where the nucleus ends and the cytoplasm begins. So I am very troubled by these cells, and this is going straight to path, in my opinion.
And this one, if nothing else, if you don't notice the staining, this one should be like, what?
Yeah, that's a big time what. So a ring nuclei, again, my knowledge base roots it back to dyspoesis. I'm going to, by analogy, extend that right to these tissue cells. This is completely not normal to do this. Yeah, very bizarre. Beautiful. This is, oh, snap a picture.
I already did.
Yeah, good.
So just looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have this guy here with
Yep.
these two here. Just
Yeah.
comparing them.
So I think I'm in the position where once I've seen a malignant cell, I get really like heavy on that malignant cell button, whatever that might be, right? So the term that we typically use for a cell like this is a large unidentified mononuclear cell. And that's really just slang for like possible like cancer, right? For us. So that's what I would say for these three. What do you think? Do you like meso on the one on the right?
I'm debating. I think I'll leave it for now, and then I want to look around a little bit more on 100 and see. Try to find a meso.
Yeah, like a nice, healthy looking
Yeah, and then we
meso.
can decide whether this one is actually a meso or not. So
I agree.
if you're the one doing this diff and you want to start your diff here, but you're unsure what does this patient's mesos look like? What does this patient's macrophages look like? You can start your diff, but chances are you're going to restart it, clear, and restart again because you're going to actually figure out what this patient's mesos look like and then come back and be like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So let's look around a little bit.
So lovely fields. Okay. So my judgment is that we have some monomax on the top here. We actually have some erythrophagocytosis, which is nice. And what I love about these cells is that they confirm to me that the stain is acting appropriately, right? And so that calls this cell that's right next to it into question. Like, why is your nucleus so dark that I can't even see the texture on it? That is a problem. So, maybe on the left here might be a normal meso. I don't know. It's a little off
He's a
field for
little
me, but
squished. Yeah, he's a little bit squished.
he's a little squished. That's why I kind of want to give it a little bit more.
Yeah. I think this may be a normal meso, but I want to look around a little bit more.
Fair enough. But at the very least, we got a fair amount of monomax, one neutrophil, got another monomac in the corner here.
Yep.
And then this is going to be LUM.
I love that. And then also too, just coming back over here next to these guys, right? We have the normal mono that we called monomac here with
Yep.
the limb next to again one of these giant LUMs.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I just hate the way those nuclei are staining. Yeah, like I'm less insulted by like that cell, right?
They're small too in comparison with those big ugly ones.
Yep. So we're starting to see what the
Yeah.
meso may
Yeah.
kind of look like.
I think these are more of the meso-y. This one and that other little one that we just looked at.
Yep.
I think these are more of the meso-ys. And then the rest of these just look like monomacs.
Yeah. Monomax probably, yeah.
Oh, baby.
It's like a black, it's just like inky blackness. Oh, this is absolutely gorgeous, right? So there should be no question at this point that this needs to go to path. This particular cell down here, the nucleus is basically black. Look at the weird, like what is going on with that cell, right? Little squished too, so it'll give a little bit of, when you get squished, it'll get darker naturally. But really, really abnormal cells. And one of the biggest challenges about a cluster like this is also keeping your count somewhat straight. So I'll admit that there is a great challenge here with getting the numbers to kind of jive from one tech to the next. But I would generally argue it doesn't matter, right? If someone overcounts a little bit on how many monomax might be in this field or whatever, it doesn't matter. What does
Really,
matter?
in the context of it, it's the malignant cells that matter.
Yes, 100%. Yep. So, this is where, like, don't kill yourself taking a ton of time and effort to try to get an accurate count. It's just not as significant as what we've already found. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Yeah, so a lot of troubling stuff.
The staining pattern here where it's super dark over here and really light over there.
Yep. And then like this one, like looks okay, but then it's doing the staining thing like the bad guy. So then it gets guilty by association in my mind. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Oh, I just came from that direction.
beautiful neutrophils. Yeah.
So now we're starting to see a little bit more of how those large ugly cells are a little bit smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to pay careful attention to something like this, which should be a meso. I don't like the inconsistencies in the membrane of the nucleus, all those like lumps and bumps. These kind of like vacuole, this does not look good. So again, I get really heavy when it comes to counting the LUMs.
Yeah. And I think these guys over here are more of like the mesos.
I think that's probably true. Yes.
And you can see the nuclear membrane is a lot more
consistent. Yeah.
More consistent. Yeah, than this.
We're at least seeing some consistency in their general size and in the staining in the cytoplasm a little bit. Ooh, beautiful. Wow. So this is the kind of blobbiness that I want everyone to be vigilant about, because that's generally not normal in my experience.
Yeah. It's not just junk. It's the rest of the blob.
If you think about it, where I would talked about them being in sheets. So now imagine that the contact inhibition is totally out the window, and then these things start growing this way, like you get a verticality and the horizontal element, you get this kind of a visual appearance.
But even just like looking at this one underneath it here, like, is this the nucleus?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. I think I've got so lost in how poorly staining these are that there's a genuine question.
Or like even look at the nuclear membrane. I assume this is part of the nucleus here. If it's not, that's really weird
Yeah,
cytoplasm. But
yeah.
look at
And
that.
our inability to be able to distinguish isn't a failing on us. It's just this is so again, when the slide sends you signals like this, you have to be receptive to it, because yeah, this is just there's just a bunch of cancer here. Yeah, so beautiful fields. We have a neutrophil. We have a lymph over here. We got a monomac. And even this guy, right? Everybody's following the rules and staining like they should, and then you get like stuff like this. Look how ugly that
Mhm.
is, right? Um, yeah, so me personally, I'd probably be a little heavy-handed, but I just say all three of those, like, get out of here.
I would agree.
Very good slide. I like this slide. Hmm. Yeah. And
Looks like
again,
phagocytosis there.
oh, cool. Good eye. I missed that. Yep. So yeah, it looks like where Melissa just pointed out, a neutrophil being ingested by probably a macrophage.
Looks like it.
Um, and then, this might be like a normal meso, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then we have more of these kind of ugly fellas. And then like even what's going on in that area up there, like. So again, most people are going to struggle with enumeration here, but don't get lost in that. It doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
Beautiful, beautiful cells. Yeah. So
Ooh.
lumpy, bumpy membranes.
Oh. Oh. You
Hmm.
can actually see like some
Nice.
separation.
Yep. A little bit of a window there.
Yep.
Those could be normalish mesos that are kind of compacted and squished. It's possible. Um,
Could be.
but yeah, I think on this slide I'd be quite heavy-handed, and if the path wants to adjust a count, they can. But
Over here. These look a little
right,
more
yeah,
meso, these two.
absolutely, yep, I
Let's
agree with you.
see.
And again, look at that nuclear membrane, much smoother, right, and consistency in the general size volume of the cell.
Yeah. And the blebs are normal for them. They
Hmm.
should be blebby like that. So not just the malignant cells are blebby. And
Yeah,
that's why mesos are so challenging, is because they can look ugly.
yeah.
But these are just normal blebs, and you can see where the nucleus ends, where the cytoplasm begins. You can see the separation between the cells. So it's a little bit more clear as compared to looking at some of these more malignant cells.
The blebs is a good point to kind of bring up, right? And so I in my mind's eye, my intuition is like if I glue two pieces of paper together and then I separate them from each other, they're not going to tear perfectly along where they were adhesed, right? So you get that kind of, I want to say like maybe frayed sort of edges. So very common with mesothelial cells to see that. So yeah, I hope that like one of the big takeaways from this slide, right, is how the staining characteristics, um, the nuclear patterns. You know, like look at this cell.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm just kind of moving along this cluster so that people can see.
sure.
Like you can see there's some like neutrophils squished in between. Sometimes
And
there's
they
like
look fine, right? You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Like you
so
have neutrophil, lymph, neutrophil, lymph.
yep. So you have the little Dave and Melissa in your head saying, "Don't remake the slide. Report the result." Gorgeous. So this right here looks like totally normal tissue.
Yes.
Beautifully normal tissue. We have a multinucleated meso. Cool, man. 2 nuclei, you got it. Totally normal. I love the beautiful.
You can see the windows. They're not quite as prominent as some of the windows, but like you can tell it goes like this here, this here, this here, and this here. Like you can see the separation between them. The coloration of the cytoplasm is consistent. The coloration of the nucleus is or the nuclei are mostly consistent.
I love this this might not be a bad image to Melissa, to
I already
save.
took it.
Love it.
I've been taking pictures of this ugly blob as we've been going.
Yeah.
But the other
I
thing too is next door is a macrophage.
yeah. Yep. There's neutrophils, right? Maybe a crappy looking lymph, but like there's a lot. Yeah,
There's a
maybe
lymph over here too.
better lymph. Yep. So what an awesome, just like total field to have. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Juxtaposition with these really malignant, ugly looking cells too.
Yep. Oh, I love it.
All right, let's
I
see.
actually want this picture to put in my body fluid teaching.
Yes.
Awesome
So,
lymphs.
but that was a good clump. And then
It
this,
was.
the other thing is then this clump.
Yeah.
This looks mostly like a giant clump of like monos and neutrophils and whatever.
Yep. Yep. I agree. And tough to enumerate here, you know,
Yes.
but yeah, yeah.
But it doesn't look dark and scary and ugly.
Right. Yep.
Well,
So
let's
believe
end
your
on that. Let's
eyes.
go back. Go back to the ugliness. Search in the other direction on that giant blob. See, just ugliness. So I think
Staining characteristics. It's important data points.
yes,
Is there anything they take away from this?
absolutely. So I think this was a really good slide to look at because of all the LUMs, but that especially that last one with the mesos, that little clump of mesos, perfect.
Couldn't
So
have asked for a better, yeah, better end.
and again, that was not planned. That was complete accident that we found that clump of mesos. So, but I think that's all we have for this video. So thanks for watching.
Thank you for your time.